श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। गुरुब्रह्मा देवो महेश्वरः, गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म, तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विजये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं श्रीवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् व्यासं अष्टनप्तारं शक्त्यै पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकदातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मणते वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. So in Kuru assembly, Narada was explaining the obstinacy shown by Galava and the consequences, how he got into trouble because of repeatedly, even after telling, I don't want any Guru Dakshina, he kept asking Vishwamitra, and because of that, he got into trouble. And also, similarly, pride. And because of that pride, how Yayati fell from heaven and how his grandchildren, his daughters, sons rescued him. So Narada told that story and then told Duryodhana not to be so stubborn in his attitude and also proud of his strength and things, because that is nothing and those will cause him destruction. That will result in his destruction. So listening to this, once Narada concludes, Dhritarashtra agrees with Narada. He says that it is just as you said. My wish also peace, but I have no power to carry out them. So whatever you said, that is making peace with Pandavas, I have no power to carry out that. So this is again Dhritarashtra showing his weakness or his fondness for his own son rather than for dharma, what is good for the entire subjects, entire all his population, all the people assembled there. Instead of looking after good for them, he's looking for good for his own son. That's why he says, I have no power to carry out them. Then he turns to Krishna and then he says, addresses Krishna and says that, Krishna, you told all the things that is good, beneficial to us, and that is consistent with dharma, artha, and everything. And with good explanation, you have told all these things, but I am not independent. Duryodhana never listens to me. Therefore, you try to make him obey these commands, my commands. So again, Dhritarashtra saying, I'm not independent. So he is the king of the entire earth, and there is Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Ashwatthama, and everybody ready to do whatever he tells, but he says, I'm not independent. And as a king, he is supposed to be the most independent person. He should not have any attachment and he should be looking after everybody equally. But he says, I'm not independent. And Duryodhana never listens to anything I say. So he says that Gandhari's words, Vidura's or Bhishma, Drona, or anyone that says he does not listen. So that's why you try to convince him from this evil action that he is going to do. You try to convince him. And when he says that, Krishna again goes near Duryodhana and tells him these words. He tells him that, listen to the words I'm going to tell you, which is good for you. You are born in a good race and you are of good conduct. You're of good conduct. By that, he is saying that you have good qualities, but you also aligning with these wicked people. That's why you are conducting these cruel, shameless actions, and those actions are not good for you. So the inclinations of the people who follow dharma, they are always looking after virtue and artha, dharma and artha. But on the other hand, the wicked people, they always look for the otherwise. So the actions again follow those things from whatever they think it follows that. That's why such a persistence in such a behavior, sinful behavior, frightful, it is highly wicked and all those kind of things, it will lead to death. So, and besides that, it is costless. It results in nothing, right? So that's why you should not continue doing those things for for too long, and that's why listen to the peace process, peace offer that's on the table. Make peace with Pandu's sons, and that's good for you. That will be good for you. Keeping your senses under control, you can do that. And that conduct of such a making that peace is also what Dhritarashtra is wishing. And with Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Somadatta, Balika, Ashwatthama, everybody assembled here, all of them want the same thing. And the world will derive benefit from such a peace. Again, you are you have modesty and born in a noble race, you have learning, kindness in your heart. That's why Krishna again trying to give him the positives of his characters and things like that, telling that in the hope that he agrees to his words. So Krishna says that those and tells him to be obedient to his father and mother, Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, whatever they wish. Krishna asks him to follow those words. He says that the good sons are the one who listens to those beneficial words told by the father, and also when the children are in trouble, they look for what father would have done, what father would have said in those times. So they look for that. Again, the person who listens to good counsels but does not act according to that will have to face the consequences. And similarly, the one who does not accept those consequent counsels from the good friends, and he will repent at last. But on the other hand, one who, having listened to such a counsels from the friends, abandoning his own views and takes up those counsels, that person will attain the happiness. That's why disregarding the opinions of those writers, that will soon make the person with his friends weep, and that means that will result in trouble. So that's why never forsake those counsels, that counselors who give you such advice. And again, that the person who listens to the people who should never be listened to, that person will be reaching his own destruction very soon. That's why you have quarreled with those Pandu's sons quite long time. Now seek protection of Pandu's sons, Pandavas, disregarding all the things that you had in the past. Go with them and live with them happily and make peace with those Pandavas. So then again, Krishna tells that do not get angry. The exertion of the wise are always associated with virtue, dharma, artha, kama. Three things are associated with all the actions that virtuous people did, the dharmic people do. And if all three cannot be attained, if one cannot follow all three, dharma, artha, kama, all three, then one should at least follow dharma and artha. But if one has to follow only one of those things, then choose dharma. The virtuous people, they always choose that. The good people who have senses under control, they choose dharma. They follow dharma. And on the other hand, the people who are somewhat good, somewhat bad, they choose the artha, profit. But on the other hand, those are of wicked, those fools, they only choose the desire, kama. And such a person will be destroyed because of his own senses, which he cannot control. Because of that, he will lose everything. And Krishna also tells him that artha and kama, the profit and desire, both should be practiced with dharma in the center of it, in the focus. Again, we looked at this back in Vanaparva in detail, right? Dharma, artha, kama. So how each one should be linked and all those things. So Krishna again summarizes these in 3-4 shlokas here. So if you remember from Vanaparva, beginning of the Vanaparva, when Pandavas were discussing dharma, artha, kama, which one is important and which one is not, and things like that, the message was very clear that one should accumulate wealth for dharmic reasons for to accumulate virtue. That's why one should accumulate wealth. And his pleasure should be related to dharma. Okay, not enjoying all the other things, but by performing virtuous things, one should get pleasure. That's the rightful thing. And that's how one should live. So dharma, artha, kama here again, those are the things. Krishna again summarizes here those things in 2, 3 shlokas. He says that one should always keep that dharma at the center whenever one looks for wealth and desires, fulfillment of desires. So again, virtue alone is the cause of all the three. So again, three here is both virtue, uh, wealth, and desires, fulfillment of desires. Again, Krishna tells him that you try to acquire this kingdom with unrighteous means. The one that behaves falsely towards those that live and conduct themselves rightfully certainly cuts down its own self. So Duryodhana, by behaving such a way towards Pandavas, he is going to meet his destruction. Again, if one's understanding is not clear, one can never devote his attention to what is beneficial. That's why one should not seek to confuse oneself into such situation. Again, one should keeping one's senses and soul under full control, never disregard anybody, and he should always control himself, his anger, and never lose his senses for the right or wrong reasons. And Krishna reminds him that the Pandavas, the union with Pandavas, the alliance with Pandavas, living peacefully with Pandavas is the best for him. And Dushyasana, Karna, Shakuni, and all those people whom you listen today, they can never protect you. So these people are inferior to Pandavas in knowledge, virtue, capacity of acquiring the wealth, and in strength. In all the things, they are inferior to Pandavas. That's why abandon these people whom you consider as your friends and go to Pandavas. And Bhima alone, when he is angry in the battlefield, none of your friends are equal to them. And similarly, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Kripa, Somadatta, Ashwatthama, Jayadratha, all these are not even equal to Arjuna alone. And Arjuna single-handedly can beat Asuras, Gandharvas, and everybody. He can defeat them. So again, he tries to convince in various means. So first he told him that you are a good boy, listen to your father, mother, and then Krishna tries to tell him about what is good from a Shastra point of view, how one should live. Then also, now he's trying to tell little bit scaring him, saying that, okay, what happens if he does not listen, right? So he's trying to use that means. So he again explains the strength of Arjuna, how he defeated Gandharvas, Yakshas, Nagas when Kandoprastha war, and what happened during Virata war. So that Arjuna, he is invincible, he really irresistible, and always victorious, right? And he's undeteriorating. That Arjuna, even Shiva had battle with him. Such Arjuna, nobody can defeat him. Indra himself cannot defeat him. Such Arjuna, how can you defeat him? So that's why look after all your sons, brothers, your relatives, everybody, friends, and everybody. Make sure that all these people do not die in that battle. So let not people say that you became the cause of this destruction. And let not people say that you started this war. So that's why go to Pandavas, and Yudhishthira will install you as a Yuvaraja, as the prince of this his kingdom, and Dhritarastra will rule the kingdom with all this entire thing. So we'll live with the Pandavas, and that's all is good for you. So when Krishna finishes saying this, Bhishma, listening to this, he agrees with whatever that Krishna has said. And again, Bhishma again tries to say the same similar things, and he says that Pandavas again, whatever Keshava has said, is always right, and that it is consistent with dharma and artha. So those things again you should accept. Otherwise, you will exterminate the entire population on the earth. You will become the cause of that. The these Bharatas have lot of wealth under with Dhritarashtra, but your actions are going to result in the destruction of all the counselors, your brothers, sons, relatives, and everybody. So again, he repeats the same thing, saying that do not become the exterminator of your race. And after Bhishma tries his way, Drona again starts and he agrees with whatever Krishna has said and also Bhishma has said. And he repeats the same message, saying that bringing your senses under control, make peace with Pandavas. So Krishna and uh, Bhishma, whatever is said, that's acceptable. Accept those words, and there is nobody on earth who can defeat Pandavas, and especially when Krishna and Arjuna sitting in that battlefield in the middle of that when they are there, nobody can defeat, and Arjuna is even superior than Parashurama himself. So that's why don't even think about that. Drona also says that if Arjuna is like that, Krishna is even superior to Arjuna, and even Devatas cannot defeat, look after, resist him. So, such being the case, how can you wish for such things? So, that's why do not do anything that's going to harm you and all the people surrounded by. When Drona finished speaking, Vidura again concludes the same thing, saying that I don't grieve for this wicked Duryodhana, but my grief is for this old Gandhari and your father, that is Dhritarashtra. I grieve for them because once all of you are killed, all the children dead. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari have to live their rest of the old age life without any children, and and that's where they probably have to wander all over the earth for their food and things like that, begging, because they don't have anyone to look after them, and that's my concern. That's why I grieve for it. And Dhritarashtra, having listened to all these things, he says again, he addresses Duryodhana and says that listen to what Krishna has said, accept those words, and those are good for you. So make very close relationship through Krishna's help, build that close relationship with Pandavas. Again, he uses Krishna here as a means of making that, because Dhritarashtra also knows that on the Pandava side, as well as Krishna said previously, there are people who want this war, right? Who do not wish for a peace because they want to take their revenge. So through Krishna, build this bond. And this opportunity, once it's gone, it will never come back. So that's why make that peace. So having listened to all these things, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Bhishma and Drona, once again, they address Duryodhana. They say that once before these two Krishnas, that is, Krishnas take up their arm and come to the battle, you make sure that you sign this, you make this peace process, right? So you agree to this peace process. So who are those two Krishnas? Obviously, one is Vasudeva Krishna, another one is Arjuna. Both are called Krishnas, right? And then before Daumya starts pouring into that sacrificial fire for the destruction of Kauravas, you make this process. Before Yudhishthira, who is having modesty as his armament, starts looking at your army in anger, make sure that you make this process. And similarly, Bhima taking his mace and comes attacking, killing all the Kauravas. Before he does that, make this process. So stop this hostility with the Pandavas. Similarly, Nakula, Sahadeva, Drishtadhyumna, Virata, Shikandi, Shishupala, all this coming and releasing their arrows in anger. Before they do what? Stop this hostility. All these kings assembled here, let them see you happily living with worshipping Yudhishthira, bowing down your head to him, and then being part of that Yudhishthira's support. So when Yudhishthira keeps his right shoulder, right arm on your shoulder, and looks after you, let Bhima support you, and then Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, all of them will worship you. They will worship you as a elder brother. So look after you, rule the entire earth with Yudhishthira. So that would be good for you. So Bhishma Drona say that, and then when all these start speaking like this, Duryodhana becomes very angry. He addresses Krishna and says that you are pointing finger at me. When all these people are assembled here, you are just saying that all this is my fault when I have done nothing. I have done nothing, no fault of my own. And I have not done any grave mistake or any fault in me. I do not see any of that. Even small, minute fault also I do not see in me. The game of dice was accepted by them. We played with them. They lost it. And then, even then, I was ordered to give all that wealth, whatever I acquired in that first game of dice match. I gave it back. But then, the second time, again, as per the rules, they lost it. They went to forest and they lost. So they are very weak and they still want to fight now. They still, instead of living where they are coming for a battle. They are asking for the kingdom and all these kind of things. So Pandavas thinks they're not competent to defeat Bhishma, Drona, and everybody, Karna, and even everyone in battle, but they still want to have this battle with us. So if we living as a Kshatriyas, that is our duty to have a battle. When someone challenges you, that's when we should have a battle. And that's why we will, I don't know why you are saying it's all my fault when Pandavas are asking for the kingdom and preparing for the battle. So Duryodhana points, says he does not see any wrong with him. And then he says that previously Matanga Rishi, he quotes Matanga Rishi, what previously has said that saying Kshatriya should always keep himself straight and never bow down, except for Brahmanas, he should never bow down, bend his head. He rather break himself rather than bending down. So that's what I'm going to do as well. And that's what I think is right. And as long as I am alive, I will not give a single point, the ground, as much as a needle point of ground, I'm not going to give to Pandavas. So if they think they can defeat, they want the battle as a Kshatriya, it is my duty to have that battle, and that's what I'm going to do. So he says that he's not going to give anything to Pandavas. Listening to this, Krishna becomes again looks at them and says that you wishing for death for all your people and destruction of entire people. You are saying that you have not committed any mistake against Pandavas. Let me tell you what all the things you have done. When joining with Shakuni, you invited Pandavas for that gambling match, knowing that gambling removes all the good understanding and it is regarded as the wicked and it creates disunion and all the consequences, dire consequences that comes from it. Knowing all those things, you invited them to gambling. And any good person will never ask someone to have a gambling dice game match, but you did that. And in that assembly, you insulted Draupadi using, again, addressing her in the language that you used in a foul language. You addressed her and then you try to disrobe her in that assembly, dragging her into that assembly. And also, when Pandavas were leaving for the forest, what are the things you, Karna, Dushasana said in the language? Do you not remember the words you said at that time? And also, Krishna reminds him of the events of Varnavarat, where Duryodhana tried to kill Kunti with her 5 children, and because of that, Pandavas have to live in concealment in Ekachakra Nagar in the house of a Brahmana for a long time. And Duryodhana also previously tried to kill Bhima by poisoning him, tying him in the rope and dropping him in Ganga. Right? And he did all those things. And having all these things you have done repeatedly to Pandavas, you are now asking what harm you have done, what sinful thing you have done. Are you not ashamed of all those things? And so again, even though repeatedly Bhishma, Drona, Vidura, and everybody ask you to make peace, you are not listening. Transgressing those words of those elders, is that not something that wrong you are doing? So when Krishna was speaking like this, Dushyasana mildly whispers in Duryodhana's ears, and he tells him that if you do not make peace with Pandavas, with this Krishna is going to ask Bhishma, Drona, and your father to bind all of us and make all of us prisoners, and they will hand us over to Pandavas. So Dushasana tells him that the way it's going, it's not looking good for us. So they probably will arrest us and hand us over to Pandavas. That's how Krishna is talking. So be careful. So he just warns his brother, Dushasana, warns his brother Duryodhana about this. And listening to this, Duryodhana becomes very angry and he leaves that assembly with everybody watching, all the Dhritarastra and Bhishma, Drona, Sobhadata, everybody, Krishna, and everybody while watching. He just leaves that court with his brothers and Karna, Shakuni, and as he walks out, looking at him, all the other kings assembled them supporting him. They also follow him. So they all leave. Seeing Duryodhana leaving like that, Bhishma says that when one does actions like this, enemies will enjoy because they know that their victory is certain. And this Duryodhana is definitely going to bring this entire Kshatriyas into destruction because of that, because of his anger and greed. Because of that, he is going to destroy everything. Krishna jumps in and at that time says that it is not Duryodhana who is fault here. It is all the Kuru elders that assembled here are guilty as well. If you do not seize Krishna, Duryodhana with his Dushasana, Shakuni, and Karna, if you don't control them, then it is your fault. As elders, becomes your fault. It is you should be telling them what is good and bad. So if you don't do that, it is your fault. So previously, Kansa, as a Bhoja king, he did the same thing, and he took control of the kingdom from Ugrasena, and he was killed by me. I killed Kamsa, and then put Ugrasena back in, paid all the due respects to Ugrasena, and he became the king again. So after that, all the Yadavas, Andakas, Vrishnis, everybody, just by abandoning one person, Kamsa, all the Yadavas and everybody lived happily after that. Similarly, previously when Devatas and Asuras were battling each other, at that time, Brahma said something similar. He said that he looked at the slaughter that was going to take place between the two parties, and he said that was about to take place between the Asuras and Devatas. He said, these Asuras and the Daityas, Danavas will be vanquished, they will be defeated. Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, the heaven dwellers, those who are living in the heaven, they will be victorious. So the Devatas, Asuras, Gandharvas, Rakshasas, everybody, otherwise will become, they all will start in the battle. They will all go one after another. So that's why what Brahma did was he tells Dharma to bind all the Danavas, Daityas, and everybody in the noose, and then send them to Varuna. And that's how Varuna, Dharma bound them and then send them to Varuna. Varuna also with his own nose bound them and keep them deep in the ocean, in Patala. He keeps them there. So that's why similarly, you also bind Duryodhana, Krishna, Shakuni, and Dushasana and hand them over to Pandavas. For the sake of family, an individual should be may be sacrificed. And similarly, for the sake of a village, a family may be sacrificed. For the sake of a province, a village may be sacrificed. And for the sake of one's own Atma, the entire earth may be sacrificed. So here again, I think this is the second or third time this quote is coming in Mahabharata again. Importance here is if one person is wicked in the family who is disturbing the following the virtuous path, righteous path, then that person should be abandoned. Similarly, if a one family is disturbing a community, a village, then that village, that person, that family should be abandoned from the village. And similarly, we should forsake a village if a village is disturbing a kingdom or a province, then that village should be. Similarly, one who wishes to have Atmajnana and that realization and moksha should abandon the entire earth. That means that doesn't mean he should sacrifice, means he should not destroy the entire earth. He should give up on everything, all the attachment to everything. Okay. So Krishna says that's why you should abandon Duryodhana for the sake of your kingdom and for the sake of everybody else. You should abandon Duryodhana. And if you remember, when Duryodhana was born, Vidura said the same thing. Exact same sentence Vidura said, for the sake of this family and this Kuru race and things, abandon Duryodhana. Otherwise, he will destroy your the entire race. So that time Dhritarashtra did not listen. Now Krishna again tells him that arrest him, arrest Duryodhana, imprison him, and then hand over to Pandavas. So that's how we should do. Similarly, just like Brahma previously told Dharma to bind Asuras and Daityas and Danavas and put them in Patala for the peace, to make sure that similarly do the same thing here as well. And similarly, just as previously I killed Kamsa to bring happiness, peace to Yadavas, Andakas, Vrishnis, just one person, by killing him, entire that Yadavas, Andakas, Vrishnis became peaceful, race became peaceful. Just like that, here imprison Duryodhana with Shakuni, Karna, and Dushasana. So Krishna says this, listening to this, Dhritarashtra becomes a little bit more scared now. Krishna is directly going to the point. He did all the methods. Now he is asking, directly telling that Krishna and Duryodhana should know. So he tells Vidura, go and bring Gandhari here. She can pacify that Duryodhana. Duryodhana never listens to me. So she can tell Duryodhana what should be done, follow this peace process, accept this peace process. Then Vidura immediately goes to Gandhari and brings her to that court. And Gandhari, Dhritarashtra addresses her and says that, look at this, your son, wicked son, who is transgressing all the commands that has been said, given to him by me, by Bhishma, Drona, and Krishna, and everybody. And Vidura's counsel is giving up everything, not listening to any of that. So the thing here is, he addresses Gandhari and says that, look at your son, your son is doing this. Okay. In fact, Dhritarashtra is the one who is holding Duryodhana with all the things, whatever Duryodhana asks, Dhritarashtra is the one who is doing. But he says that, Gandhari, this is your son who is doing all these things. Okay. When Gandhari hears that, she immediately tells that, bring that Duryodhana back to this court immediately. He is uncultivated in heart and sacrifices dharma and artha, and he does not deserve to become a govern a kingdom, because one does not one that sacrifices dharma and artha, and that person, such a person, does not deserve. So he is destitute of humility, and such a person should not obtain the kingdom. And Gandhari looks at Dhritarashtra and tells that it is all your fault. You are very much to be blamed for all these things. Knowing his sinfulness, you followed his counsel. Again and again, you did whatever he asked him to do, you to do. You did all those things. You supported him all the way. And that's what you are doing. Now, suddenly, you are thinking about going against Duryodhana and asking him to change. How that change is going to happen? People will laugh at you, looking at you. All along, you supported Duryodhana. Now, suddenly, you are saying that, oh, Duryodhana is wrong. So people will laugh at you by doing that. But when there is peace and things on offer, why abandon those things? So while she was speaking, Vidura again goes and at Dhritarashtra and Gandhari's command, he goes and tells Duryodhana to enter the court again. Duryodhana, with angry red eyes, he comes back that court, and Gandhari starts giving the advice, and she tells all the things, that same things what Krishna, Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, and Vidura and everybody said. Same thing she says that, and she reminds him that the one that does not have senses under control cannot enjoy the kingdom for any long. The one that has lust and anger always, those such a person loses all his possessions and enjoyments. And that's why it is important to conquer those things first. Then one can conquer the earth kingdom and everything one can conquer. The one that desires to obtain the expensive, all the large empire should always think about dharma, artha as the main things, and should have senses under control. That's then only one can control it. If it is not controlled, then it will destroy everything. So again, she repeats almost everything that has been said previously, and she tries to tell him again that it is important to control those, conquer the lust and the desires, the anger, the avarice, the boastfulness, the pride, all those things. Then only one can have the sovereignty of the earth. So that's why it is important to control all the passions. So the person again should be obedient to wishes of the friends who seek his good. So otherwise, he will, in such a person will have no virtue, no profit, and there is no good for such a person in any battles. So Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Balika previously gave Pandavas their share of the kingdom and never think of disunion with those Pandavas. You can see today that the fruit of those peaceful secession, the sovereignty of the whole earth is there. So share that with the Pandavas with respect. Rule a quarrel with the Pandavas will destroy everything. So that's why they have already suffered in the 13 years enough suffering. So that's why quench this lust, anger, everything you have, that fire, destroy that fire in you, and then make peace with the Pandavas. So she also says that the one that covers the wealth of the Pandavas, Pandavas are not a match, nor this Karna, who is always angry, or your brother Dushyasana, or even Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, Karna, Bhima, Arjuna, Drishtadyumna, all these together, when they are angry, they will destroy the entire earth. That's why control this, stop this war, make peace with that. It is never good, never good that has come out in this world when men are, there is no men that acquire wealth by avarice alone. That's why give up this avarice. So she tells in various means to convince her son to accept this peace process. We will stop there and we will look at what Duryodhana does next in the next time.